Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today's webinar is going to be about improving your study habits and focusing for the new year. A lot of students and families have been requesting this because, one, it's the start of the new year. And also, people are always trying to set New Year's resolution goals about trying to be better. So what we're going to be focusing on today is about how is it that you can either, if you're a student, improve your own study habits, and if you're a parent, how is it that you can support your own child to be able to develop better studying habits. And so, first off, in terms of a quick introduction on myself, I used to be a former UC Berkeley outreach coordinator and getting to graduate school instructor. That's actually where I met Coach Tony back at Berkeley, and we actually did admissions together. Back in the day, we used to go to different high schools and be able to present at different high schools about how to get into college. And pretty much that's the content that we shared before years ago, more than a decade ago, actually, is the same that we actually present even now because it's all still very much relevant. Also, I used to work in the school district at San Francisco in K through 12 education. And fun fact, I was also a UC Berkeley alum and received a full ride scholarship. So if you haven't been to one of my talks before, I did share in the past about how is it that I was able to do that. I'll maybe share that again in the future if that's something that y'all are interested in. But at least for today, what we're going to be focusing on is why New Year's resolutions fail, how do you create a strong vision framework, and also how do you actually improve your habits, okay? And actually, even if you're a parent too, and you're just trying to support your child, you can actually apply this to yourself too, right? In ways everyone is trying to be able to improve their own habits. So this is something that I think can be applicable to everyone, and especially for all ages as well. And quick housekeeping too. Share your high school graduation year in the chat just so that I know how to cater our conversation. I see there's about 100 folks within the room right now. And also, if you do have any questions, please drop it in the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to share out the replay and notes within the next 48 hours. Awesome. Class of 2025. That it means that you'll be graduating and going on to college. That's super exciting. Okay, so let's get started. And so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to take notes while we're chatting as well and in the slide deck so that everyone has access to it too. Okay, so first off is why do New Year's resolutions fail? Okay, a lot of times, right? I think a lot of folks are always trying to set new goals, and it's only like until they wait till the new year, that's when they actually get started, right? But in reality, people can set goals whenever you want to. You don't have to start on January 1st. You could have started in December 20th. You could start it way back and whenever you wanted. So really, a lot of people tend to have this expectation that starting this new year will all of a sudden transform you. And so let's talk about the reasons why is it that people tend to fail their own kind of goals here. So first off, over reliance on motivation. Okay, motivation, and students tend to say like, I don't feel like it. The thing about relying on motivation here is that you are depending on a particular event or a particular moment to get you to like get off your butt and to be able to do something. And so in ways like you're depending on a feeling, and that's not going to that feeling might not always exist. There's at times where you won't feel like going to the gym or you don't feel like eating healthy one day. And if you just depend on that particular feeling, then it's not going to really benefit you in the long run because because you're just kind of relying on that one moment in time. The thing that we want you to push you into is thinking about discipline. How do you discipline yourself to still do it, even if you don't like it? Okay. When it comes to being able to set certain goals and be able to achieve certain goals, people might think that you have to constantly have this like invigorating feeling or to feel super amazing. But the reality of the case is that it's not always going to be like that. There's some days where you're going to feel happy, some days you're going to feel sad. And during the days that you don't feel as happy or your best self, if are you expecting yourself to still achieve your goals in spite of that feeling? So that being said, discipline is really where you're able to kind of keep consistency, and also to make sure that you can still prevail or like commit to that particular goal or task in spite of whatever you're feeling. So really what we're trying to do here, right, is that the goal isn't really about how do you motivate students or how do you motivate your kid to do something, right? It's about how do you develop their character to develop the discipline to be able to study so that they can feel like studying or want to study regardless of how they're feeling in that moment. Okay. The next part is environmental barriers. Environmental barriers essentially is when someone blames some other thing. Like for example, saying I can't do it because I don't have a particular study environment to work in, or I can't do it because I don't have a tutor to really be able to help me. I can't study because I don't have the right technology to be able to to be able to do it. And those are all really legitimate reasons, right? There are many reasons why we can't be able to achieve our goals, especially when it becomes into studying. But then there becomes a point, and this actually matters in terms of your college applications too. There's been a lot of students and parents that ask us, like, how do I talk about a D or C on my transcript? And how do I be able to present that to the application reviewers? Well, one thing is that we always try to check to see if are you taking accountability for your actions in terms of why you received that D or that F or whatever that grade is. The essays that tend to do very poorly are the ones that tend to blame the teachers or blame the certain other factors that don't relate to themselves. Because really, what that showcases is that you're not taking accountability for that. And so, and this is really important because uh, if you are going to constantly kind of like blame other situations or factors, then the question becomes, how did other people get A's or B's in that particular class? Because I'm pretty sure, or the admissions are pretty sure, that not everyone has a D or F in that class. And so what's really important is how do you set up an environment where you are surrounded by protective factors to make sure that you are successful. So, for example, right, if you find that you are struggling in a particular class, then how are you putting yourself in an environment where you can be successful, where you are surrounded by peers who can actually motivate you or help you in your classwork? Or if you say that I can't study because I don't have a clean environment, then clean your room, right? Clean your environment, make it conducive to your own kind of work there. So making sure that if you find yourself actually blaming a certain situation, then ask yourself, what can you control? And what you can control is putting yourself in a different environment. Okay. And so that is like kind of shows a lot of maturity, especially on the application. We can really see it really easily when a student tends to blame the teacher or blames the grading system for some sort for their low grade. So just be careful about how you kind of think in that kind of way, because all of this, right? It's not just about writing it. It's not just about how to explain it, but it's also how does your mindset, what are your thoughts in your mind? What are the kind of certain beliefs or limited beliefs that you tend to have that kind of leads into that direction. So in regards to self-accountability, right? Making sure that you put yourself in the corrective environment that is conducive to your own study habits that you want to build. And in terms of this application as well, like application reviewers, while looking at your low grades, for example, like C, Ds, Fs, we are making sure that you are taking self-accountability towards your actions and what is it that you learned from this experience. All right. Let's move on to the next part, which is the other issue is the lack of specific goals. So, for example, it's terrible to write New Year's resolutions to say study more. Okay, like what does more really mean? Okay, uh, really, what we want to try to be able to achieve here is something called SMART goals, which many parents have probably have maybe heard about before. But the thing about SMART goals, right? It's that one, it has to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. Okay. So instead of study more, right? Because anyone can interpret that in many different ways, but how do you know when you're actually successful in being able to achieve those goals? So first off, with the thing about being specific, right? So for example, maybe you want to study a particular subject or study a particular type of lesson in a particular time frame. So maybe it could be an example of I want to study math or what's it like geometry or something at weekly at X time and X date, right? Because right now, what you're doing is that you're able to try to pinpoint what is it that you want to study. And maybe here for geometry, I'd actually get more specific about a particular concept that you want to achieve, because studying geometry can also be a bit broad too. If you can get as specific and down to the granular size as much as possible, that's really going to be helpful for you to be able to determine if you have been able to meet your goal. Also, on top of that, right? If you can concretely say yes or no, I did not reach my goal, that is a way to be able to tell whether if it was measurable or not. So something to ask yourself is like, can I easily say yes or no? Specific is, can I pinpoint to the granular size of what needs to be done? Actionable, right? Is just like, is it something that I can do? Realistic, I think that kind of is self-explanatory, but is this possible? And timely is when are you going to achieve this? Because the thing if also about the timely piece is that people tend to create goals that might last a full on year, right? They want to achieve certain New Year's resolutions that by the end of this year, I'm going to be more fit, I'm going to be studying more, and I'm going to do amazing in math, right? But the thing is, the longer time horizon that your goals are, the less likely that you're actually going to achieve it. Because think of it is goals are meant to be kind of milestones. They're meant to be markers. You have to be able to work on it within a short amount of time and determine if that is something that you've achieved or not. So that way you can make adjustments as you go. The thing about goals, right? Goals, the smaller they are, the better, just because you're able to learn from the situation. Goals are meant to be the lessons for yourself about how can you improve as a person. All right. And last bit is the lack of vision. I don't know why. Okay. Uh, I'm sure many folks have experienced this before, especially when it comes to the college admissions writing, because even with your personal statements, and especially this relates really directly about your major that you want to apply to and why do you want to apply to college. We ask this a lot, right, when you're writing the application, especially for the seniors out here, right? Is that we always drill you to get deeper and deeper and deeper in your reasons of why. Because the thing is, everyone wants to apply to college. Everyone wants to go into like the most prestigious schools. But what differentiates you from everyone else is your level of reasoning of why. And your why shouldn't be at the surface level of, I just want to get a good education and I want to be stable or I want to get a job, right? Because in reality, that's everyone else as well, right? And so the lack of vision, right, is what leads to people to be unmotivated because it doesn't feel empowering enough for them to be able to work towards it. So if you are finding yourself unmotivated, if you're finding yourself uh, not wanting to do certain things, then it's possible that you just need a good reminder of your why. And so one of the ideas is to vision board. Vision boarding is essentially like what does it concretely look like to be able to realize your vision or your goal? Okay. So this can be like pictures, uh, quotes, words, uh, or anything to help you visualize. And keyword is visualize, right? That you should be able to see it, right? You should be able to taste it. And like, for example, that's why it's so valuable actually to bring your kids to go to a university or college because it helps you visualize your vision, right? It helps you realize that this is where I want to be. And in fact, that's something actually what I did too. I remember, so I went to Berkeley for undergrad, and during high school, I visited Berkeley, and I was like trying to imagine myself actually being there. The more that you can actually visualize it and make it into a reality, the more likely that you're able to manifest it in a way because you're working towards something that feels like it's in your reach. If you feel like your vision or your goal is unreachable, like as in like you can't attain it, it's not possible at all, then of course, realistically, you're not going to be able to achieve that vision because you don't even believe in yourself, just because you don't see it being possible. So one of the most powerful ways to be able to help you craft your vision is actually within at least an academic setting, go to the college that you want to go to and try to imagine yourself just walking through the campus and say like, why do you want to be here, right? Out of all campuses, why is this one important? Why do you want to go to college? Why do you want to study this particular major? And the more concrete that you can get with it, the more helpful it is for yourself to be able to stay aligned to your vision. Okay. Okay. Quick drink of water here. Okay. Uh, let's see. Oh, and yes, this video will be available to watch another day. So don't worry, you can always send this over too. And I'll also be filling this in with a little bit more notes. All right. So next, let's go into vision framework. All right. So vision framework, essentially, in order to build habits, especially studying habits, right, there are two prerequisite parts to be able to get there. One is your vision, second is your goal, and then third is your habits, right? It goes from top down, okay? We talked about vision just now, right? And the idea of a vision is that it serves as your guiding compass and provides motivation and direction, right? The things that we talked about, what makes a good vision, right? How concretely uh, can you imagine you meeting your vision, right? And so things that can be very helpful here is to visit your college campuses, shadow a professional, and to just even doing things you like to do. Okay. And what I mean by doing things that you like to do, ideally, right, for students, your goal is to hopefully be able to work in a job in the future or do whatever you want to do that you like to do on a daily basis. Now, imagine if what you like to do, you could do it professionally, right? So, for example, if you, let's see, you really like helping people and you want to go into pre-med, right? Just being able to help more people often, right, is going to actually encourage you that you just need to kind of finish your education, get to college, so that way you could be able to help people more in a different capacity. So just by being able to do more things is always going to be very helpful for you. And also something I've always told a lot of parents too is the idea of needing a exposure and reflection. Okay. Exposure is pretty much experiences, new experiences that help you learn more about yourself and what you want to achieve. Reflection are the conversations that will help you understand more about yourself and connect your vision to reality. And what I mean by this is that you can go to college campuses, you can shadow professional, but and do all the things that you like to do. But if you're just doing it mindlessly and you're not actually talking about it, whether that's with one of the coaches or with anybody else, like an adult or a peer, then all that learning is going to be missed opportunity. It's like, for example, imagine you were to like study for a test, right? And you study for a test and you take the test, and then right after that test, you kind of forget everything. It's a very common like research study that students tend to forget a lot of information right after a test because they no longer need it or it's no longer valuable to them in their mind. And so very similarly to a vision, right? If you find yourself exposing yourself to parts of your vision that could be very helpful for you, um, you can lose out on a lot of that knowledge and you might not be able to retain what this vision might look like for yourself if you don't talk to somebody. So, like, for example, when you go to a college campus, right? And especially for the parents here, that if you're taking your kids, uh, take them with you, go to the college campus, have them like expose themselves to different things, and also just ask them, what do they like about it? What do they enjoy? And why is it that they want to be able to come to this campus will be extremely helpful for them. Okay. Let's see. Other things in regards to a vision, right, is just being able to get as specific as possible. Okay. Something I like to ask certain students is to see like, hey, what does that ideal future look like to you, right? And like, what is it that imagine you wake up in your like after like during your college days. Imagine you are you're waking up and you're in your college dorm. What is it that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? What is it that you're eating? What is it that you're doing for fun? What is it that you're studying at a college campus, right? If you ask those particular questions to help students, and you can ask yourself if you're the student, right? Ask yourself, what does that ideal experience look like? Because that ideal experience is what actually helps you also manifest that vision into reality as possible too. All right. The next part is the goals, okay? we kind of covered how goals are supposed to be SMART goals, right? And ideally, the SMART goals will contribute towards your vision. If you don't know what your goals are, right, then it's possible that you're lacking the vision. Remember that a prerequisite to being able to set a goal is that you need that strong vision. And if you have no clue, or your student has no clue about what they want to work towards, or what is it that they want to achieve in their college or career, then start from there, right? Don't try to focus on the study habits or the goals just yet, because if they don't have a strong vision, then what's the point of even trying to set these goals, right? Goals are so often broken, or they are not actually met because the vision wasn't strong enough for them to actually meet or to realize that. So for going back to goals right here, right? The important thing is that make sure that they're SMART goals, that they are contributing towards that vision, and also that it's actually intentional uh, towards that vision. And I know that sounds like kind of a given, but think of it this way, right? Let's say that you have your vision here. Let me just copy this. Okay, let's say this is your vision, right? Your vision, this is what you're working towards. And maybe this vision is like, I want to go to UC Berkeley, right? Or something of that sort, or whatever campus that you want to go to, right? There are particular goals, right, that will help you get there that all relate to the same thing. So, for example, right, imagine this is goal one, and then make this white, okay? And then maybe you have goal two, goal three, and all of these are going towards that same particular vision, okay? And you want to get as specific as possible about how do they all contribute to it. So, for example, right, the three kind of pillars that we always talk about when it comes to college admissions, right? Goal one is to make sure that you have a strong academic foundation. Goal two is that you have diverse activities that help you stand out. Okay. And then goal three is to focus on creating an application that showcases your unique talents. Right. And actually, when it comes to the diverse activities that help you stand out, it's more so of it's not just helping you stand out, but also and that you actually enjoy. Okay. At least with college admission secrets, one of the main things we focus on is do the things that you love to do. Okay. Generally, if you focus on the things that you like to do, then you'll be fine. It's just a matter of how do you frame it within your application. Okay. And so when it comes to these three goals, right, these are like kind of the three major pillars that we talk about within admissions, right, to be able to prepare to get into a competitive university. Then the next part comes into, okay, what are the specific goals that will help you, or micro goals even, right, to help you even achieve this particular thing. So let's say for a strong academic foundation, you can break that up even to sub goals that will be more specific here. So this will get to the more SMART goals in this case, right? And so it could be the case where for math, right, like I want to achieve an A in calculus AV. Okay. So this is like your sub goal for number one. And then imagine you can be able to create a lot more different goals for each individual. And so that will help you be able to determine about how to prioritize your goals and if they're all leading to the same point. If your goals are not leading to that vision, then there's no point to even have that goal, right? Sometimes we create goals because we think that we should. Like, for example, let's say it's a new year. You're probably thinking like, oh, I want to exercise more. I want to be healthy more, which is totally great, right? But in reality, right, is that part of your vision right now? Is that something that you want to work on and focus on at this very moment and dedicate your whole entire energy towards? It's possible, not really, right? Because you might want to just be focusing more on the like your, I mean, don't get me wrong, health and wellness is always important no matter what, right? But you shouldn't have to sacrifice and you shouldn't sacrifice that for the sake of this particular vision. Yet at the same time, you don't need to be as intentional with it at the very least, right? Because the thing about there's a term called strategy, right? Strategy is all about being able to say no to the things that don't matter. Okay. If you are a quote unquote strategic person, a strategic person is a person that's willing to say no to goals that don't matter and that they're able to just focus on the things that matter the most. Okay. And something that, for example, that I tend to uh, like bring for others, uh, like in another example is like if your goal or your vision is to be as happy as possible, to be like a very happy, very joyful person, then something I would ask you is like, okay, are all the things that you're doing right now actually contributing towards your happiness? And if not, then let's figure out what are the ones that are not contributing towards it and cut it out. Because you should be focusing your energy on the things that actually relate to the vision that you want to create for yourself. Okay. So a huge part of the goals here, right, is to strategize and prioritize. If you can strategize and prioritize your particular goals about and being intentional about which ones actually meet that vision, then you have a better sense of all the things that you should be focusing on. Everyone has the same amount of time in a given day, right? And yet there are certain people who are more ahead in certain things than other people. So, for example, uh, you know, for me, I'm not necessarily the most like athletic, sportsy person per se, and it's not my goal or my vision to be like a very like to be the number one in sports or anything of that sort. But I'm sure that there's someone that really is because they are more intentional about their goals and their vision towards that particular ideal future. So for yourself, right, what are the things that you have to say no to? All right. Let's go into the last part, which is the habits. Okay. The habits are the most important part because they will eventually domino effect from your to your goals and then to your vision. The habits are your small and consistent actions or routines that help you achieve your goals over time. Okay. The most important thing here, right, is habits are uh I was about to repeat it. It's the small things that you do on a day-to-day basis. So it happens uh, frequently to the point where you don't think about it anymore. The goal for habits, right, is that if you want to develop new habits, you're going to have to be very intentional about it first. And then you want to get to the point where you don't have to even think about like whether is it something that you have to do or not, because you'll just do it. So for example, think about brushing your teeth, right? Everyone goes to the restroom to brush their teeth in the morning and nighttime. And that is just something that we've adopted as a way to take care of our dental health. The same can be done to say about studying habits as well, right? What are the kind of frequent actions that you could be able to do on a regular basis where you don't even have to think about it? It's just a part of who you are, right? I think a huge part of it is that your habits are actually your identity. What I mean by that is your habits kind of define like who you are, what you do, and essentially who you want to become. If you are a person that is a straight A student, for example, right? Then you're going to have certain habits as a straight A student. We have certain expectations of what a straight A student is versus a students with like Fs, right? And we can imagine that a student with Fs might get distracted, right? That's their kind of identity there. And their habit is to get distracted. But a student that has straight A's, they might have a habit of being able to make sure that they study on a daily basis. So something to think about yourself, right, is in addition to your vision, right, what is your identity or who are you today and who do you want to become? I was actually talking about this with someone who I manage at work the other day. And one of the things that they said is that they want to get better at their job, right? And I would ask them, okay, like let's imagine that you were better at your job. Imagine that you are Victor 2.0, right? What are the specific habits that Victor 2.0 has that helps him be 2.0, right? Uh, because in ways, right, all of us, we're always kind of always kind of doing development. We're always growing. We're different from who we are when we were kids, right? And same for students right now. As a student, who you were a year ago or 2 years ago, and even as an elementary school student, you're not the same of who you are today. You are always growing in some type of capacity, and you develop certain habits that help you determine who you are today. And so the next kind of idea is who do you want to be like now, or who do you want to be tomorrow? And you don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can actually just do it now. If you know that there are specific habits that Victor 2.0 are doing, and I'm not there yet, then just do it. right? It's just one of those things of you just have to be able to do it. And let's talk about how do you actually build strong habits. And this is where it relates to the book Atomic Habits, which is by James Clear. And he has this really amazing book, scientifically backed, about how do you build strong habits to be able to stop the bad ones, create new ones, and how do you reinforce it constantly. So there is a framework, right, within Atomic Habits, which is four parts to it. One is to create a cue, is like being able to make it obvious. Second is to develop a craving on how do you make it attractive. Three is to make it easy through a response. And then the fourth one is to make it satisfying, to give yourself a reward for being able to accomplish that particular habit. So let's go through each one. So first one is to make it obvious is a cue. Okay. So in regards to studying, right? If you want to study more, then you have to make sure that you have certain things in place that will help you initiate that particular behavior. And so first off is time and place. Uh, what specific time and place, and whether that's like, in your house, whether it's at school, library, and when you say specific time, is it like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., whichever, that you want to study. Okay. It's like, for example, how we have a habit of every day waking up at a certain time or going to bed at a certain time, right? When and also if you notice, like during the times when we do, like for example, brush our teeth, there's a certain time and place that we do it. We go to the restroom at like 6 or 7 in the morning whenever you wake up to be able to brush your teeth. And same goes for eating too, right? When you go and you're hungry, you're likely to go to the kitchen to eat at a particular time. And at times, we're not even hungry, but we still go to the kitchen at 12 p.m. or at 6 p.m. or whenever your lunch or dinner are at. And that is from a natural habit. So you want to create a time and place where you're always going to be able to study. And it could be the case where you need to block out your time on your calendar. If you're a student and you don't have a planner yet, or you don't use like your Google Calendar to create certain time blocks, that's going to be really important for you. So really create time blocks and locations to focus on one and behavior. And when I say one behavior, what I mean by that is you do not want dual purpose like kind of settings. So for example, a lot of students who I know that struggle with studying habits is that they play games at their same desk, right? If your desk is a place where you like to relax, you like to chill, but you also try to study there, it's going to be very hard for you and it's going to be very tempting for you to actually just play games instead. So you want to separate it. You don't want to have a designated place to study and to relax at the same time, because by being there, you're likely to start feeling as if you want to relax. So that's just something to be careful about. Even for me right now, like if you look at my background, right, you'll notice that there is like a kind of DIY station where I like to do a lot of handy kind of work. And then in the back, there's like my keyboards and my games there, right? So I have certain areas that are only designated for one place, right? If I go to my workshop area, then I will immediately be triggered to want to build something or to develop something. And if I go down to the couch and with all the games and such, then that's where I know that I want to relax. So you have to be intentional about that. Second is the environment, right? Environment is like how do you make it conduce convenient for you to do it. So for example, like a way to kind of do this is like putting your textbook out, e.g. putting out a textbook on your desk so that it's easy for you to study that particular page. So, for example, if I'm ever trying to study new content, right? Sometimes I just leave it out there where it's super convenient. And then same thing is for your phone, right? More likely you have your phone right now on your desk or wherever maybe you're watching your phone with your phone right now. If you have your phone in a very easy and convenient place, if it's in your environment, you're going to get distracted. Some people, what they do is that they put their phone in a totally different area because they make it very hard for them to be able to use it. And so what's really important here is that how do you ensure that you have an environment that has no distractions, right? if you're studying in a place where you have access to games, you have access to your phone, then it's going to be extremely difficult for you to be able to study. And also, if you say that, I like you have some self-limiting beliefs about like, oh, I'm not a good student or something of that sort. Well, it's just possible that you just have bad habits or you just have a bad environment that will help you actually get there. Uh, which I think actually is one of the most important things is to make sure that your beliefs aren't limiting you to be able to achieve this particular habit. Last thing is habit stacking. Okay. Habit stacking, I think, is one of the most powerful ways to be able to create a new habit. Habit stacking pretty much allows you to, how do you stack a current existing habit to do something else as well? So, adding one habit to another. So, for example, it could be the case, right, where, for example, you, uh, uh, let's say right now, like let's say for brushing teeth is like the most easiest like, kind of example because everyone does it, right? And also, the way to be able to like for example, flossing and brushing teeth are usually go hand in hand, and mouthwashing as well. You typically put things together, and because it makes it easier for you to be able to initiate it all at once. So a way to think about habit stacking is how can you find something enjoyable that you like to do and do it at the same time as studying. So, for example, for me, right, and you might be too young to drink coffee, but I love coffee. But coffee is like what makes me happy, right? And really, the goal here is like, how do you add a habit that makes you happy already to and study at the same time? And that will actually make you associate that emotion with that behavior. So, for example, if you really enjoy coffee, then you're going to enjoy studying now because you are drinking coffee at the same time. This has actually helped me immensely, actually, with reading. I used to not read too much at all. Like, I actually used to be really against reading. I used to think reading was boring. But until I habit stacked my coffee intake with reading, that has helped me actually understood like an appreciation for reading that I've never had. So, for example, the way I kind of did it in terms of making a new habit, my one of my new habits that I wanted to try to create at 1 year was to read more books. The way I did it was I set a particular time every single day, which was at 6 a.m. in the morning, because I wake up at 5 a.m. And at 6 a.m. at this particular sofa in the corner of my room, I'm going to read there with a cup of coffee. And what I'm going to do to make sure that I have a conducive environment is I put my Kindle there or a book there that's ready for me to be able to do it. So you see at the time and place, right, which is 6 in the morning in a particular like couch area. Second is the environment, is to put my book there or my Kindle there. And lastly, habit stacking to make it enjoyable is by being able to add something that I enjoy. All right. Next part is the make it attractive. It's the craving, the motivation or desire to act. Okay. So, uh, first of all, when it comes to the motivation, right? I think we talked a lot about this, but it's really about your vision, right? It's really about being able to understand why you're doing it. Ask yourself, why am I doing this particular habit? Right? Maybe look at your vision board. Maybe like maybe it's possible to have like college flags on the on the wall or something, right? Something that like gives you enjoyment or gives you excitement. Something that like helps you uh like look forward to that future that you want to like live, that reality that you want to live, right? So being able to uh making sure you understand your motivations or your visions, your why, before you're even doing it. Okay. Next is temptation bundling, which is actually the same as almost as to habit stacking here. But essentially, the point here is to be able to bundle up something that you enjoy with the particular habit. Okay. If let's say, for example, if you're studying and you want to do something that you enjoy, some people really like fidgeting. Like they need like some type of fidget spinner or fidget toys to be able to play with because that's something that is like enticing or something that makes it enjoyable. And you can make it a rule for yourself that you can only play with this particular toy when you study. If you limit your temptation uh, with that particular habit, then it's going to make you want to do it, right? Like for example, you can only play games if you were to like study for at least an hour, right? That's an example of what you're being able to do. Okay. All right. And the last part is social influence, right? Here is like joining a study group or accountability partner to make studying more engaging and collaborative. Okay. Uh, there is this kind of research study about how you are the average of the 5 to 10 people that you hang out with. Okay. It's a very common saying that maybe you might have heard in the past before, but think about your peers, right? Are your peers the type of people that would be studying as well? Do you imagine that they're developing the same habits that you want to develop? Let's say you want to make this vision, right? You want to be in this vision where you go to one of the top universities that you really care about. Are you surrounded by people who share that same vision? Because that's going to help motivate you to be able to maintain those certain habits. If you are surrounded by peers that don't really care about school or don't care about certain things, then frankly, it's possible that you might need new friends. And I don't mean to say in a bad way. There's nothing wrong about like not having the same friends anymore, but are they actually helping you like meet your vision? Are they helping you be able to reach your goals sooner than later? Okay. Uh, the next part is the make it easy, the response. Okay. First off, the response is to start small, right? Making it like as easy and actionable as possible so that you can complete it. So, for example, if you are trying to develop a new study habit in regards to studying, you can start as simple as I will do one problem a day, or I will read 2 pages of lessons a day. Okay. Just start small will be able to help you be able to achieve it. Because if you were to set a goal of like, or a habit of, I'm going to read for an hour every single day and study an hour a day, that's and previously you start at 0, then it's going to be really hard for you to dedicate a full hour to something that you don't have a lot of familiarity to kind of accomplish. So that being said, right, if you start small and try to achieve it, then you can increase the number of minutes each time that you do it. It's like if you go to the gym, right, and you are lifting weights, maybe at first you can only lift 5 pound weights for 10 reps, right? And then the next day you go to 11 reps. The next day you go do 12 reps, right? As you can see, right, just keep on increasing over time. The whole point of habits, right, is about the discipline to keep on doing it. And if you keep doing it with small amounts, that's going to help you get to larger amounts. Okay. So as easy as possible so you can complete it uh, and repeatable without like challenge. Okay. Next is to simplify the process. Okay. And what I mean by simplifying the process is to break large tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. Okay. Uh, this is like very similar to what I mentioned about starting small, is that if you are trying to achieve something, right, uh, don't try to be too overly ambitious, right? You'll get there. If you try to set a large goal for yourself, and like for example, I want to get an A on this particular like midterm or this test that we're about to take, right? It could be the case where yes, that is a fairly reasonable goal, but your habits though is actually about how many lessons or how many problems can you complete before then. So your habit in this case, right, would be how like can I be able to accomplish one problem or 5 practice problems per day? And that will eventually help you achieve your goal of getting that A on that test. So that's an example of that. Um, Instead of focusing on getting an A on your test, focus on uh, practice 1 to 5 practice problems per day that will help you achieve that A. Okay. All right. Next thing is preparing ahead. This is very similar to what I mentioned about the environment as well, or for the queue, right? Is to uh, make it easy by having everything there ready for you to be able to complete the particular habit or behavior. So, for example, in this case, right, is having all your materials ready in advance to minimize friction. So again, if you want to develop better study habits, making sure that you have your textbook on the table, having it ready, and having it accessible for everyone to review. Uh, by being able to do that, then you'll be able to just go in and make it really easy for yourself to be able to accomplish it. All right. And the last part is the making it satisfying, the reward, okay? The benefit or the outcome of completing the test. So one way to be able to make it satisfying is to track your progress. And you can either, like, for example, use a habit tracker or checklist to mark off your progress, right? And it's like kind of like similar to back in the old school days. I'm not sure if people still have calendars anymore on their walls, but with those flip charts, right? You'll see like January 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And sometimes we just X out each day as each day passes. The same thing is applied to here. As you see the days progress, right? And that you completed the particular behavior or task, you check it off, and then you can kind of see yourself like uh completing it in a row, or that you are being consistent in that, right? One of the huge motivating factors is like, can you get a spree of three times in a row, 4 times in a row? Can you do it 2 weeks in a row, right? And so the more that you can visualize your results, right, then that will help you be able to make it satisfying for you to just check off and be able to be done. Reward yourself. This kind of goes self-explanatory, right? Create small rewards for completing tasks. So, for example, maybe you want to take a 10-minute break or watch a show after your study session. Maybe you get to play games after a long like time, right? Try to create rules for yourself. If you create rules that you can only enjoy these rewards if you do a certain thing, then that will likely increase your likelihood of completing it. And lastly is celebrating milestones, right? Recognizing achievements like completing a chapter or acing a test, right? Uh, Remember to always, it's not just always about getting better, but it's about being able to appreciate how far you've gotten to this day up until this point. So remember to always do that, because sometimes students can be very harsh on yourself, right? Just because you got a B doesn't mean that it's the end of the world per se. It's just there's a lot of other milestones you can appreciate instead. So just know that even if you don't reach that particular goal, there's certain things that you could still be appreciative of and to celebrate them, so that you can be able to create newer habits that will uh, improve that experience for you. Okay, so that kind of covers it. So kind of as a recap, right? Um, in terms of your uh, building new study habits for this new year, always start with the vision. Try to be crystal clear as much as possible about what you want to achieve, what you want to do, and also what does that reality look like for yourself. Set that goal, right? What are the particular goals that will help you reach that vision? Remember that we talked about, if your vision is to go to UC Berkeley, you know that there are three particular goals, at least for what we do at CAS: creating that strong academic foundation, developing the diverse activities that help you stand out and that you enjoy, and to goal three of creating the application that showcases your unique talents. And from there, you'll be able to create sub goals. And then from the very end is to create the habits that will help you lead to those goals. Okay. So focusing on making sure that habits are obvious, they're attractive, they're easy, and they're satisfying. If you're able to accomplish these things, you can change your own behavior, and you can change even your identity in terms of who you are and who you've become. Uh, with that being said, that kind of concludes the presentation. And also, if you are new to our community, something to look out for is that if you want a free 15-minute coaching call where we'll be able to help your child and help your family about the college admissions process, you can text coach to 949-298-6234. And here we'll be able to assess where your student is at their college admissions process. And then second, to create an action plan for you in terms of how to be able to achieve that particular goal. And so we'll also talk about, what are the different habits or what are the different goals that you need to set in order to be able to make sure that you are college prepared. And lastly, if you are interested in being able to uh, get the kind of presentation and all this information, then you can also text, let's say, habits. Okay, text habits to 949-298-6234, and we'll be able to share you the notes in the presentation. That'll be ready for you after 48 hours. I just need to clean up my notes just to make sure that it is accessible and good for sharing. Okay. And if there's any questions, I'll give it a minute. If there's anything that folks have. Yeah, the number is 949-298 6234. So you can text coach if you want the free 15-minute coaching call, and you text habits if you want the presentation after I've cleaned up the notes. All right. Okay, I think we have a bit of a quiet group, but no worries there. So it was a pleasure being able to present with y'all. I'll chat with y'all next time. And also, if you want to come to my office hours, it's on Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. So folks are a part of our coaching families. Feel free to come through if you want to talk about habits or goals or vision or whichever. Okay. Thank you all and have a good rest of the night.